All right, guys. Injuries from the game. McCaffrey had a mild calf strain. That'll keep him out this week. Ambry Thomas, he had the broken hand going into the game. He's going to have surgery tomorrow on that, so that'll keep him out this week most likely. Updates on players who missed the game. Eric Armstead with his foot and knee. We'll continue to rest him, get him ready for the playoffs. Dwelly with his high ankle. We'll see, but not likely to go this week. And Juwan and Jalen Moore, they're both still in the protocol. And Jair Brown, his knee will just continue to rehab, and we'll see how it goes this week. I'm not sure whether he has a chance or not. All right, guys.
Hey, yeah, Kyle, I understand you kind of front with all the roster, just stressing 48 players. Are there any other veteran guys, such as Trent Williams or anybody else, that you enter this week, pretty much set that they're not going to play?
No one's set right now. I'm still discussing that with coaches and stuff and just trying to figure it all out, what's best for us. And I'll probably discuss it with those players also, but not as many as you would think. It's really a hard thing to do, and it's not always the best thing to do, too. So we're going to take everything into account, but it's still something we're going to continue talking about throughout this day and tomorrow.
Is your plan to have Brock start?
Don't have that plan yet. We're still discussing all those things.
Okay.
You've got two wide receivers on IR. What are the plans for Ray McLeod and Danny Gray?
They'll come back in and practice this week. I believe Danny's got 2 more weeks, and we'll take Ray. We'll start his window Wednesday as soon as we start practicing. So Ray will have a chance to be up, and we'll see how it goes with Danny.
Kyle, you kind of referenced this earlier about it's not always the best thing to do. How conscious are you, or what's your history with the risk of rustiness when guys don't play for 2 weeks in a row, essentially going into the playoffs?
I think it can be tough, but it's also it's not just playing; it's how much you practice and everything too. And you got to make sure that you prepare for games by practicing. And we got a game this week on Sunday, and that's what you got. When you give guys the game off. Practice changes too, and that can end up hurting guys a lot, and you end up just developing bad habits, and I've seen it cost a lot of teams. So, and it does give some guys a chance to get healthy, but when you do that and you sit people, then you want to sit some of the names you guys mentioned, but then other people got to double up and do a lot more because you only get 2 guys off a practice squad also. If you want to get more than 2 off practice squad, we got to cut people on our roster, and then we don't get those guys just to get those guys up. So it always can end up hurting. You rest players, and that sometimes gets more players injured. So that's all that stuff you got to balance out, and that's why it's there's not a clear-cut decision on anything. You got to look in each individual and each situation and play it out as the week goes.
Kyle, we've seen over the last 3 years now that Elijah Mitchell can miss time, sometimes a substantial amount of time, and then come back and carry a pretty big workload and hit the ground running. What is it about him that enables him to do that?
When he comes back and he's fully healthy. And we thought about him going the week before. He was starting to show some things in practice, but getting 1 more week, allow him to go with the other guys, I think it got him fully 100%. And when Elijah's 100%, like I've always said, he's one of the better backs in this league. So he's going to go in and run like he always does. That's a skill set he's always had since the first day he's gotten here. And when he's good to go, he always looks like Elijah.
Is there an estimate on how much time Ambry Thomas will miss with his hand surgery?
It would only be this week. I think they even told me before the Washington game that he would get surgery this Tuesday, and there could still be an outside chance to play this Sunday. So I doubt that we would risk that now in the situation that we're in. But that makes me feel pretty confident for our next game he'll be available.
Kyle, would he play with a club?
What's that?
Would he play with some type of club?
That's what he did yesterday. He played with a cast to cover it up and everything. So hopefully the surgery, what they have to do, I'm not exactly sure. I don't look into it that much, but they say he'll be fine when he comes back, and this will help him. He just had to get through that game last night.
Mm-hmm.
this probably falls under the too early to tell, but have you guys thought about, or do you plan on keeping 3 quarterbacks up for this game?
I think you answered your question before you asked that.
Okay.
Hey, Kyle, what was the vibe mood like on the flight home? Given not just the win, but given that you knew by then that you had clinched the number 1 seed.
That was pretty cool. The guys had a good time. It's funny playing to get on and have a good time with each other. I actually was exhausted, fell asleep for a little bit, woke up, watched the game, and went back to the plane and saw a bunch of the guys having fun. A lot of guys by that time were kind of sleeping, or some were still watching it, some were playing cards. But the guys, they had worked real hard for that, and I don't think we were all expecting to get it last night. So it was a pleasant surprise, and I know the guys enjoyed it on the way home.
Do you see getting the number 1 seed as a real good competitive advantage, since there's only 2 teams that get it in the whole playoff?
Yes, I do. It's every game in the NFL is so hard, and it's just being at home is a big deal. But also, if you can win that first one, only being 1 away from the big one is. That's why I think the percentages, since the 1 and 2 seeds, I think always have been like 75% are the teams, but I think that's always been because those guys always got the first bye. And I think that changed last year when just the 1 seeds got them.
I think you only wound up with 11 snaps, but what kind of impression did Sebastian Joseph Day make in his first game?
It was good to get him out there. I mean, we definitely liked the guy and liked the player. We're asking him to do some totally different stuff. So it was, the way he's, the style that he's played with 2 gaps, and his stances and stuff are just kind of the opposite of what we do. So it was to get him really a half practice where he just got to work on a couple things full speed for 2 periods, and then for him to go out there and play those 11 plays, I was real impressed with him. He was ready to go, did everything we asked, and I bet you he'll get a little bit more playing time than that next week.
Defensively, second half defensively, Washington got almost nothing, and part of that was because you guys had the ball so much. But I'm curious as to what you thought changed in the first half, the second half on defense.
Well, I thought we didn't give up a big, we didn't give up a big touchdown like on the go route. There wasn't a touchdown, but they got him down there. When they did get down in the red zone that one time, we had an all-out blitz, I believe, on 3rd down, and Mooney had a big turnover that was a huge change. And we cleaned up on some of those screens and stuff and didn't give any of that leaky yardage. So got him off the field fast, and we were able to get a run game going and control the ball pretty well.
Kyle, you described.
Kyle, I don't know how much you got to see. Kyle, I don't know how much you got to see the end of that Detroit-Dallas game the other night. I'm just curious, how often do you have plays or things that might be a little complicated that you have to kind of alert officials to before the game? And, how much do you kind of walk the line of not trying to be too complicated when you do that?
Not too much with us, just because we don't put bigs in there very much to play tight end, and we don't do many unbalanced formations. So it doesn't come up with us as much as I bet it does with other teams. But I always we do a lot of motions and stuff. So there's certain things where we'll motion right before the snap, and I don't want the officials to think it looks like a false start, because it could just to a quick eye and stuff if you didn't see exactly how he was doing it. So there's things like that I alert them of, just so it doesn't come off as a penalty or anything like that. But we don't have to do too much. They always ask you, is there anybody, do you have any unbalanced? Do you have anyone reporting in the game? And usually my answer is only if there's injuries that'll happen. So don't have to do it too much.
Kyle, you described Christian's injury as a mild calf strain. Is the sense from the doctors and from Christian that you're confident he'll be fine after 2 weeks of rest? I mean, he obviously gets 2 full weeks now before the playoff game.
Yes. Yeah, we're real confident on that, and it was good news. Could have been a lot worse. So we're happy it'll take care of him this week, and hopefully he'll start getting to go during our off week.
Kyle, what are the challenges when you go against the defense that can basically has a corner who can erase the half of the field? That's what Mooney's been doing for you guys basically all season, but it seems like that's been the case, especially these last 2 months. And my follow-up to that would be, was the expectation that he would hit his stride more in year 2 when you guys signed him to that big contract?
I mean, yeah, it's when you need to avoid a corner and attack when you're always trying to think about attacking coverages, pressures, how to get rid of the ball, how to help people get open, but then you got to think of a player to avoid. That's always it makes it much harder. But yeah, Mooney's playing like we hoped he would. I mean, just studying him at Kansas City, we thought he was one of the better corners in the league. You know, going against him there in the Super Bowl, and then being able to watch him the next couple of years on tape. And we feel like he's kind of always played like this, and he works at it. I think the more you work at it, the better you get. And once he had to, once he got a couple picks, now they've all started sticking to his hands, and so he's just getting more and more each week. And couldn't be more happy with Mooney. And he's an awesome dude, and he's playing with a lot of confidence right now, as he should be.
All right, guys. We'll see you Wednesday.
Thank
all right,
you.
guys. See you guys Wednesday.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks.